After the tortuous departure of his younger brother, Jijuan enters the path of revenge with no way out, where every step is imbued with seijo and toughness. He tracked down every clue and killed those related to his brother. In a world where justice is sold cheaply and rotten hearts are empty, Jijuan believes that only violence provides the answer. But when he nears the end, he realizes that he is also part of the spiral of tragedy that has been arranged. 10 years ago, Jijuan was a bloody player in the Pond world and was awarded the title of Golden Vein. In the fierce battle between those two male factions, it was Jijuan who threw the fateful punch that ended the war with a single punch. The two warring parties were Chairman Gu Bongsan, brainstorming boss Bongsan, and Chairman Li Juun. He was the big man on the other side of the front line. After that landslide martial arts exchange, the two changed from fighting to shaking hands, officially laying the foundation for a tense cooperative relationship. In a recent cooperation, Chairman Gu suddenly asked Chairman Li to help with a bit of a headache. It was to clean up the foreigners hired by his own son. These people were none other than their father's manager because he dared to stick his nose into his shady business. In return, Chairman Gu promised to help Chairman Li with a belt break. Even though he himself did not get any money, he still had to hook up his wallet. The information had just escaped from Chairman Gus' office and flew directly to the director of Jiang Group, Ji Suk. Without hesitation, Ji Suk and his trusted juniors immediately set off to find Jumo, the son of Chairman Gu. The junior told him that wherever the name Jumo in the Bongsang Group sounds, people shake their heads because the scandal is more than the salary. He even had to hire foreign soldiers just to deal with a manager. On the way, Ji Suk suddenly asked his juniors if they had to pack up from this Jumo group one day. What would my uncle do? The younger brother stammered and didn't know how to answer. At the DK Luxury Hotel, which is known as the best resort mecca under kimchi, Ji Suk suddenly appears looking for the export Jukon that Junmo secretly hired. He didn't go around and say that it was not safe to hide here, and he would sit and wait for the end of the disaster on her body. Junmo sees Ji Suk appearing, so he can't help but be curious and asks him what he came here for. Ji Suk only said that it was the chairman who was a virgin and personally asked for Chairman Li. He definitely wants to teach his son a lesson for life. However, Junmo didn't show any signs of caring, but he also showed a teasing attitude and was sad about a rather oblique sentence. Your brother was lame in the past, right? Now that the legs are shining, 10 years have passed, what's left? Then he turned to his subordinates and shouted as if he wanted to poke Ji Suk. The kind of person who causes trouble like his brother and still lives critically. It's a miracle that now his younger brother is the director Ji Suk, and he's clinging to the Luan like a parasite. Before he could finish laughing, Junmo immediately ate a few slaps like heaven. Ji Suk slaps and points to his face and says that you are the easy root of all the trouble between the two families. Junmo blushed and shouted, "It was you who crossed the limit earlier." It all ends. Ji Suk returns to a secluded place on the top of the hill. The place where Ji Jun's brother is living a quiet life away from the pain of the sword like 10 years ago. He sat down and told his brother that Chairman Gu was intending to hand over the entire Ruan group to him. It was a gift that was both heavy and hot. Ji Suk hesitated and said that he honestly didn't know whether he should accept it or not. Ji Jun heard that, and he also asked him if he was interested in his brother. Before the two brothers had time to finish talking a few stories, it was time for Ji Suk to go back. When he returned to his middle apartment, Ji Suk suddenly saw something strange that seemed to have an invisible gaze on him. But it turned out to be just a stray cat, so he threw it some leftovers and turned away. At that moment, a person rushed out from the darkness and was about to attack from behind. But holding it with only one hand, he couldn't control him and asked, "Whoever sent you is the chairman, don't you think I'm stupid?" Just as he was about to let him turn around to the shore, his whole group pulled over. But unfortunately, those guys are just like supporting actors in fighting games. Each guy who hasn't had time to get his hands dirty has eaten a day. Punched on the ground, one punch is to go to sleep twice, and he doesn't need to dream. However, Ji Suk was not interested in showing off his power, so after defeating the group, he released them. Little did he know that it was that concession that became the cause of his second ambush. And this time he didn't have a chance to get up anymore and accidentally signed himself and gave himself a death sentence. Soon after, the bad news of Ji-seok's death suddenly spread like a blue sky milk. Ji-jun's older brother, who was living in seclusion on the top of the hill, also quickly received an obituary. At the visit, I don't understand how the president's son is also present. He stooped at the end of his head to shake his face with Ji-seok's juniors as if they were very close, but it was nothing more than a clumsy act. Only Haebyum, one of Ji-seok's closest juniors, noticed his most satisfied smile. Soon after, Prosecutor Lee Jae-im's son, Chairman Lee's son, also entered the funeral ceremony with an icy cold face. But before he could get inside, he was stopped right at the door by the Cheon manager. Chairman Lee told him that he shouldn't get involved in the company now. This is the monk you visited, so come back early to help me. Although he is the chairman's son, in front of the company, Jae-im's son is just a business bystander. While the conversation was still going on, a figure slowly walked over to Ji-jun. The staff and juniors all bowed with solemn expressions. Because Ji-jun is not only Ji-seok's older brother, but also one of the people who laid the first foundation for Jaeon's development. A person who once traded both his youth and his legs in exchange for a solid position like today. He walked to his brother's side, and the manager of Cheon recounted that. He was suddenly attacked by a group of soldiers and then killed him. Ji-jun heard that, but couldn't believe what he had just heard. My brother was stabbed by some wanderers and left. Those guys must have learned martial arts for 10 lifetimes to be able to touch his pond. In the midst of the two old generals, Chairman Gu and Chairman Lee, were sitting in a closed room discussing big things. Chairman Gu suddenly sighed and said, "Lee, please give my son one more chance, even if it's just once." But before he could finish discussing, the door opened, and Ji-jun walked in from the outside. He said that you told me to live like this before. I never existed. I've been following myself for years, but today I can't continue to pretend like that anymore. What about you? Is there anything hiding from me? Judging by the look in their eyes, there must be nothing more to say, and Ji-jun turned around and walked out. As soon as he arrived at the parking lot, a young man came over and said, "I'm Haebyum and I'm also Ji-seok's most trusted junior. I would like to ask for permission to take care of all the aftermath for him." But Ji-jun just glanced at it without saying no, passing by like a breeze. That night, Ji-jun returned to his brother's apartment inside dark and strangely quiet. On the table was a small box with the wrapping paper intact and the words Moonjade sent to him for his upcoming birthday. The gift that has not yet been handed over is also the last gift. The younger brother was going to personally send it, but now there is no longer a chance. He vowed in his heart that he would trace the trail himself and then find the person who sent his brother to the afterlife. At the police station, Ji-jun appears with an unfriendly face and asks to meet the person who harmed his brother. But the police did not want to let him meet because he was a family member of the victim and could not have contact with the suspect until the trial began. Waiting to be teased, the guy who had just declared himself like a living man was famous for being a person who didn't care much about tears. It wasn't until Ji-jun approached to threaten him that the policeman let him in. Ji-jun went to the place where the barehead man who had pleaded guilty to sending Ji-snail off to the afterlife and asked. As soon as he saw him, he asked who this uncle was. "No circle, no flute," he said, "I just want to know who sent you to my brother." This guy finished listening, but instead of apologizing, he laughed and teased. "Do you want me to cry? Or are you going to hear the apology and feel relieved?" Ji-jun looked at him, his eyes were so cold that the air seemed to freeze. "I'll find you one by one that day, and if I need to, I'm not afraid to knock on your parents' door." This barehead man was not afraid at all, but also said that you think I have my parents. I've been looking for myself for a long time, just to ask why I threw away my brothers like that. Hearing this, Ji-jun didn't respond, but in that moment, he already knew who his next destination was. Ji-jun followed him to a cafe where the familiar gathering of the group of best friends of the badged bear's head grew. As soon as they saw him appear at the door, the whole group stopped playing the game and walked towards him. "I told you, but the old man also came." Another guy said, "Hey, the old man is angry when he hears that he met the badge, so he always thinks about coming here to solo." They thought Ji-jun was the kind of old man who retired, so they gathered around to teach him a lesson. Unfortunately, the lesson was played in the opposite direction. They don't know anything about Ji-jun, who 10 years ago was called the Steel Skeleton of Bangsan. A name that is enough to make gangsters here is automatically nestled in the margins. The first release was given by him for a shot that was already lying down. Just like that, one by one, each punch was not lacking, making the group of nearly a dozen people lying paralyzed as if they had just finished an MMA match. Some of the more sober ones felt uncomfortable, and the first one was left with only the friend with the head of the mouth stammering. "I don't have anything to do with my head, I don't know anything." Before he could say any more words, his face kissed the glass door right there. Ji-jun didn't speak for hours, only the younger brother of the badge was left. It turned out that this group of young people, no matter how large they were, couldn't do anything about it. But that night, another complete stranger appeared in the shadows. The next day at the prosecutor's office, people were analyzing the brawl case, which was likely related to an internal dispute between Bangsan and Jaun. Initially, these two parties shared the same owner, the chairman of the cell. But Chairman O's effective right hand is Gu Bangsan and Lee Jaun. Now that he has been overthrown, he has officially divided the area into two factions. Now everyone in the prosecutor's office suspects that this case is similar to the overthrow of that year. Because Ji Seoc was about to become the chairman, someone wanted to take action to stop this case. Some people think that it is just a brawl of the names at the top of the road. Just after school, Prosecutor Lee was detained by the captain of the special case. Telling you to stay here is no different from an invisible person, but also at home. He is the son of Chairman Lee, but he was not even invited to sell soup at the funeral. He asked Ji Um's son if he would go back to manage the Jaun group if his father retired. Long circled for a while, and then this guy proposed something to Ji Um's son. He will promote you with one condition if you can handle the case smoothly. He wanted him to choose between being useless in his father's corporation or being here but getting promoted. As for Ji-jun, after grasping the weakness of the barehead named Hui-chan, he came to see him again, and he refused to confess. In fact, there is a chat room called the Graveyard where they are often given the same task as hanging rewards. Of course, the case of the snail driver was rewarded to an extremely high level. The dusty creatures like the name Hui-chan here only know how to take on tasks at the request of customers. If the driver wanted to know, he told him to meet the lawyer that the graveyard had hired for him. So after taking the testimony from the dusty man of Hui-chan, his lawyer informed his superiors about the car, but did not know why the driver was in his car. "I am the brother of the victim in this case. But this lawyer is not afraid of Ji-jun. Tell me you can actually blackmail a practicing lawyer in front of her police station." Mr. Ji-jun only asked about the graveyard, and this lawyer also spoke up. That graveyard is like a delivery app that connects stores with delivery people. Every time there is a guest who needs someone to go to court on his behalf, he will pay a commensurate price for the dust of life. But the dust of life does not like to go on duty, it will take it instead, thereby avoiding having to go on duty. As long as you go to court and go out, you will have money to spend corresponding to the number 5. The lawyer said that he only knew that it was just a legal consultant for that company. Then he gave his business card to Ji-jun. Director 1 is happy because he has just made a good business. Unbeknownst to him, death like John Wick was coming to his house. Seeing Ji-jun appear, the employees showed contempt for him. "I was gonna wash my first child, but each guy was punched and lay down. Who told us you had an attitude towards me?" At this time, a phone call was sent to Director 1. "I am Nam Ji-jun. I will wait." Hearing that, he immediately called the juniors to deal with Ji-jun. But none of them can stand up to Ji-jun with their own strength, these guys are too weak. Director 1 arrives at the chaotic scene and immediately looks like a friend to Ji-jun. But seeing his expression, he immediately knelt down politely like a puppy began to mutter. He said that he was just a person who followed orders and received money. He said he didn't know anything about his younger brother Ji-jun's case, but the more he talked, the more he revealed. Ji-jun bluntly asked who gave the order. "If you don't want to tell me to testify, you won't be at peace." But after that shot was a punch that no one saw. After being punched, the director refused to reveal the person who placed this order. It was Ji-jun Mo, the son of Chairman Wu, who suddenly san. The next day, when the director Wang was kicking because he was punched in the face yesterday, the manager of the Bongsan Group immediately came to inquire about him. I don't know if Ji-jun came here last night. He still doesn't know that the person behind the order is Director Wu. Preventing the head of this rabbit emperor who was afraid of death, he didn't know what to do but tell the truth. Because in front of him was Nam Ji-jun, who had ruled the peace between the two factions of Wu and Li. The director Wang didn't want to care or get involved anymore. Ask the pyramid manager to take care of his house. And he must go to see the fortune teller so that his business will not be involved in the bosses anymore. And Chairman Li on this side took the initiative to invite Chairman Wu to meet him, reiterating why the two sides have been able to keep the peace until now. Since the death of the president of the two people, a rule has been set that if one party is guilty of the other party first, that party will have to pay a proportionate price. Chairman Li bluntly said that Chairman Wu's son had been guilty of his side. Ask him if he knew anything when he heard about Zenek. I just hope that it was an accident and not a murder. It was his son who hired Shi-jun to defend Shi-xiao, so Shi-jun smashed the whole graveyard company last night. Chairman Wu's face still didn't change. He looked down on Shi-jun. Even if he touched his son, he would have to pay the price. But Chairman Li warned him, and I didn't call him because it was about the two of us, but about Shi-jun. As soon as he finished speaking, Shi-jun walked in with the leg that had been severed 10 years ago. Slowly pour the soju cup and ask one last time. Did he have anything to do with Zeno's death? Although Chairman Li advised him to stop it, Shi-jun didn't care to ask if Chairman Wu would abide by the rules. Chairman Wu said that he would deal with the people involved, but Shi-jun didn't need it anymore. If you are not involved, don't do anything, just sit and watch. Just as Shi-jun had just left, Chairman Wu was aware of the problem. Ask the chairman what he can do to make up for his son's sin in causing the casino. Is the duty-free shop or even the biggest hotel DK? Chairman Li said that this was the last time the two sat together. Chairman Wu still wanted to ask him for help, so he gave him his DK hotel. That night, when I came home to see my son, Wu Bongsan asked your son if he knew who you were touching? June Tangerine once killed his pet and slaughtered a whole gang of gangsters. The name 11 June is no exception. June fumbled at this time to admit that he was working to destroy the car. It was just that he wanted to prove himself to his father. Chairman Wu just hugged his son's head. Even if you are useless, you are still my son. I don't understand why Dad is so irritated just to protect this useless brat, you idiot. If you don't want to die at the hands of Nan Shijun, don't do anything without asking first. Meanwhile, Shi-jun went to an old friend of his and asked him if there were any old balloons. But the person you see is going to need something to walk normally. He took out a type that could fix the legs that made it much easier for the 11 June to move. At the president's house at this time, the younger brother of the car went to see the manager of the Cheon. It is said that it is the name 11 June Mo that eliminated the car. He wanted the chairman to do something about this, but was shut down by the management for a few shots. A person who is a junior of a car dealer has what kind of status does he have to get involved in the affairs of his superiors? Seeing the president's son here, this brother also left first in his heart. Manager Cheon told Jiam's son not to get involved in this either, because this is the company's business that has nothing to do with him. Jiam suddenly asks Manager Cheon if he thinks he'll lose more if he confronts Bong-san. Meanwhile, Ha-belm's brother went to Shi-jun and begged him to let him participate in this case, because he didn't want a weak boss like Chairman Li. He didn't serve this time. It was not the business of each 11 June, but the business of this whole brother. Hearing this, Shi-jun decided to let this brother participate in his own revenge. So in order to find out the whereabouts of Go Jun Mo, the younger brother Ha-belm went to see the lawyer of the graveyard company. Reward up to 30 million won for whoever finds Jun Mo's whereabouts and address the fastest. The news has just been posted, and many people have sent messages. Jun Mo's car in his place was quickly found. Shi-jun immediately arrives at the DK Hotel to find Jun Mo. Meanwhile, at Chairman Li's office, He and his subordinates were talking to each other about the person who caused the case with the car but did not know. It was Lee Jae-sun's son who was eavesdropping on their conversation. It was also from here that he learned that the case given to him by the jury had been beaten. The truth about the perpetrator of this incident is his father instead of the director Shi-jun-mo. In order to eliminate Shi-jun from handling his son, Chairman Wu sent someone to deal with it. But no one dared to take on the task this time, and there was only one way to send someone to take their son to the hidden place in Yongryong first. When he received the order, the manager immediately went to find Jun-mo and told him to hurry up and go to the hidden curse because death was imminent. Jun-mo is still like this guy who has to fix any of his fathers and sons. How terrible that guy is that I have to fix. Suddenly, a guy turned off the music and kicked everyone out of the hotel, and came in front of Jun-mo and told me that I would take him to his hiding place. According to Chairman Wu's words, if you don't listen, you deserve to be arrested for a battle. The three of them were huddled together when the death god Shi-jun came. The junior was trying to comfort him, but the director ran out of words. Jun-mo challenged Shi-jun to come here because he didn't think he was about to face death. Fortunately, Manager Lee rushed up to make Jun-mo escape from Shi-jun. But the fate of the one who keeps his feet is to eat a few punches and then lie down on the ground. Shi-jun saw that this guy took off his shirt for a little while, but at least he had to tell him who his father was. Manager Kim was worried about taking Jun-mo away, not thinking that Shi Chaos Juniors wanted to follow him, but stopped him. President Wu was a little worried, but fortunately his child was fine. The son of the vengeance has been safely taken to the hidden cave by the needle manager. Meanwhile, at the Klin place, Director Wu was preparing to flee, for fear that Shi-jun's body would come here again. Who has been asking you where you are going? The director asked me to come back while returning from a business trip, he said while putting his things back in the clothes. Shi-jun only asked for Jun-mo's address to make an excuse, but Shi-jun only gave him a day to find out Jun-mo's address. Meanwhile, at the president's house, Manager Cheon followed Gum-sun's words and went to find the recording that he had overheard. After listening to the tape about the information that the person who handled Shi, the new Cheon manager looks to Gum-sun to ask why. Why do you want to show me this tape? As a person who is always looked down upon, from the workplace to the status at home, there is no one. Gum-sun asked, isn't this a good opportunity to overthrow Bong-san? Gum seemed to be planning to prove his strength in accordance with the title of heir of the Yule Group. And Jun-mo on this side called the needle manager because he was curious about Shi-jun's true identity. Manager Kim finally had a chance to tell this damn director. In the eyes of the needle manager, the male 11 June is a saint. When Chairman Lee and Chairman Gu were under Chairman O, they clashed with the largest gang in Busan. Because the President O wants to reach out to Japan and control the port of Busan. He sent the two men to Busan, but it was too late, and the Busan gang was in front of one. The brawl between the two sides broke out, but the chairman's side O was overwhelmed excessively. That's when Nam Shi-jun appeared, a person who was known as the tendon of Bong-san. He could do it all. At that time, Chairman Lee and Chairman Gu realized that no matter who the opponent was, it didn't matter how many names he had for Nan Shi-jun. Since then, the power of Yule and Bong-san has increased rapidly. At that time, there were rumors that the Chairman O would hand over the company to these two people instead of his son. From that rumor, the president's son stood still. So he once asked Director 1 to order someone to eliminate Bong-san and Yule. The president's son O had gone beyond the limit, so in the dark of night, Sung-won was dealt with overnight and Bong-san and Yule were the most suspected in this killing. The two were immediately arrested for questioning, and at that time Shi-jun was the one suspected of harming the president's son. However, his seniors knew that Shi-jun had not done it. Within just a day at that time, the Chairman O was deposed so that Lee Yule and Gu Bong-san became the chairman. The law that those who are guilty will pay the price has also been born from there. Nam Shi-jun was the first victim of that rule, but because he was a meritorious person. The heads had just cut off the tendons of Shi-jun's legs, which was considered his strength. Although he had already explained that, this Jun-mo still didn't believe it. He said I wouldn't stay here and went to see an old friend with his brother Habelm. Tell me that my brother was bought by the chairman's son by the wrong person to deal with it. He was about to advise Nam Shijun to calm down, but the younger brother added more oil to the fire. Chairman Lee won't do anything because he already knows. He kept telling people to ignore this, which was enough to see that Mr. Chassis was nothing to the chairman. Junimo was mad and wanted to break the door out, but he couldn't. He had no choice but to call the butchers he had hired to come here to deal with Shijun. This time, these two guys only need to be dealt with one guy. Meanwhile, the chairman of the GU was investigating the documents related to the cylinder when he learned that the first person to discover the body of the male director was Officer Han Xiaojun. He immediately asked for someone to come here to see him. I went to the Rubber Needle and called the 11 June to a place to see the scenery. It is convenient to ask and recall the old days when the two used to work together. But Shijun didn't want to ask the question directly. Kim Jungsek saw that his brother now only knew how to take revenge, so he had to give him a piece of paper. Tell him Junmo's address to come and take him away, but I'm tired and I'm going to leave the company with him anyway. But in fact, this was Junmo's plan. He threatened to manage the needle. If he didn't follow him, his family would definitely be in danger, and this brother would have to deceive his brother like that. I arrived when the 11 June arrived at the place indicated on the place. The two butchers that June had bought for hire appeared and brawled with him. Although these people are big, they still can't fight the new person who lost their brother. How can you compare the pain of losing my brother? When Shijun held a bag of feathers, he pressed a sitter. When the other guy was about to sneak up on him, let his brother go up to meet the Pluto King. Now I'm the butcher of these two bastards. Only one of them was the other who also went to the west with his brother. At this time, Junemo also called to ask if he had finished the matter, but the other end of the line was just cold words. You just wait, it'll come to you. 11 years ago, the perpetrator who caused the death of the European president's son was unexpectedly an Australian male driver. Was the person who killed the Australian driver because the European president returned to take revenge? And the chairman of this side is planning with his juniors how to get rid of Shijun. In addition to the investigation of the case that year of the European president's son, whether the Australian driver was involved or not, Chairman Gu still wanted another way out for his son, which was for the person who killed Shijun. As for Junemo, because he was threatened by Shijun, he immediately called a friend of his who came here to discuss some business. So the next day, two names who had participated in boxing but were banned for doping in the competition were present at Junmo's house. Junemo said that this match cost 1 billion yuan. Doing these two names is so exciting that I am afraid that he will die, but with Junemo the better. When manager Kim returned, he found out that Junemo had disappeared with the same boxing name in the Australian driver. He immediately ordered the person who went to find the director of the GU from all the hotels to go to the river area, and it was imperative to find it. Ji Jun has been exercising a little too much lately, so he has found his own doctor to heal. An old friend Choi Byung-go called and asked if Ji Jun would quit his job to take revenge after this incident. But he didn't expect Junemo to be here with the people he hired. Ask him who he thinks he is who dares to talk about dealing with me. Choi Byung-go didn't care much about Junmo's words and told him to leave. He was immediately hit in the head by this madman on the spot. At the same time, the needle manager ran to stop Junemo and grabbed him. He didn't expect this crazy guy to drop his senior, which made him start to be surprised. Junemo asked, "Did you rush here to worry about me or this guy?" The needle manager immediately wanted to deal with Junemo as the answer. "This crazy guy, I told you to stop. But listen to this guy clearly. Because he was a useless guy who didn't do anything to his soul." As he was talking, Junmo's people rented things to the chair, and then he began to curse. "You're telling the truth, aren't you?" After speaking, Junemo continued to retire his manager for treason. "It's because of you that I can't deal with Ji Jun." But Ji Jun's call to Choi Byung-ho has not been turned off. Junemo called and said that if you are good, come here, your friend has been dealt with by me. After harming his younger brother Ji Jun, he stopped and now killed all the rest of his acquaintances. Looking at the scene around Ji Jun, his face was expressionless. He only took the flowing ball stick and Choi Byung-ho left it for himself and came to find Junemo. I came to an abandoned construction site. Chairman Gu caught the officer and threatened him. If you don't want to end up like the people who were dragged here, then quickly reveal what you know about the case of the man who drove the house. Why did he know in advance that he would make up for it? Meanwhile, at the base of the sun, the chairman had summoned all the Bearhead groups to gather in one place. I'm happy to come out and say that this place is full of rolling heroes. Today is considered an interview for the upcoming Bangsan. Whoever does well here will be considered to be a fortune in the future because I am the heir. After speaking, Jun Mo threw down the money bag he had prepared. Tell whoever catches the one who is coming here still intact to come to me. That person will receive this money and be employed at Bangsan. When Ji Jun arrived, Jun Mo sent him. He quickly put on his gloves and took his flowing cane with him and began to enter the base. Seeing the kids in front of him, Ji Jun asked who was afraid and left. And those who are not afraid will stay and prepare one dam for each guy. Seeing the Tangerine June in front of the guys, they started to rush up, but every guy was just one beat and lay down. June's blows were like an intolerant blow. One dam of the team of sentient beings, 2 dams sends the enemy to the extreme west. 3 dams are the population decreases. Seeing this scene, Jun Mo began to get scared and ordered the professional security team to quickly come and kill this guy. There was no need to keep him alive anymore because it was too scary. At this time, there was a big guy who came to grab Ji Jun. Every time he sinned, he only got the big one, but the brain was careful. Just like that, it was handled by Ji Jun on the spot. He hurriedly picked up the spear under the fear of the first boys and went straight to the inner circle, making Jun Mo start to get scared. Ask the person I hired you to do it. Of course, that's fine, but the Insiak wants to ask for double the prize money for this case of 2 billion won. Meanwhile, Chairman Gu has found evidence that his son is not the one who dropped Ji Jun's younger brother, but someone else borrowed Jun Mo's hand to conveniently handle Ji Jun's younger brother that night. He was just afraid that he wouldn't be able to call his son back in time because Ji Jun was already getting closer to his son. Ji Jun carried his tired body up the stairs step by step. The Insiak patted Jun Mo on the shoulder and told him 2 billion, and then Ten Shen Fei fell and fell down. The two began to rush into a fight. Since he had done his best after the last battle, Ji Jun was quickly punched in a dust bag by the Insiak. The Insiak even turned around and told Jun Mo to deal with him, until he was wrestled on the table and punched. Ji Jun took the opportunity to blind the Insiak with a shard, and the situation was finally turned upside down. Due to being blind on one side and suffering from extreme pain, the Insiak was quickly defeated, leaving only Jun Mo behind. As a guy who was not only involved in the handling of his brother, but also the relatives next to him were also dealt with by this guy. Ji Jun discarded his limbs until he went to the altar to watch the fire chicken. Meanwhile, Chairman Gu called Jun Mo forever but couldn't. Until Ji Jun called back and said I was here. Chairman Gu wanted to explain to him, but it was too late. Because of an unresolved misunderstanding, the son passed away from the ghost house. But it's worth going to life because it hits Ji Jun's friends as well. Ji Jun finally thinks he can take revenge on his beloved brother. But on the way back, a car rushed in from the opposite side, causing Ji Jun's car to plunge into the river. The report on the task of killing Nam Ji Jun has also been completed. Back in the evening before Ji Suk was molested, the children were forced to do nothing about him. Until another assassin appeared, this one could be said to be much more formidable and bigger than Ji Suk. Already, he also repeatedly used his weapon to target the weak points of Ji Suk's hand, causing him to suffer pain and unable to emit a strong force. As a result, due to being injured too much, Ji Suk was also quickly sent off to the afterlife. And the officer at that time had just accidentally witnessed this scene. Back in the present, Ji Jun's car was also picked up by the rescue team as if he was in a state of half-dreaming and half-love. Fortunately, there was a brother Ha Belm who rescued him in time and reported to the chairman about this. Not knowing what to do, Chairman Gu called Chairman Lee to ask him to go to a counter to talk. Chairman Gu deduced that it was Mr. Lee who had killed Ji Suk. As he spoke, he held out a paper proving that the money in the case all came from a subsidiary of Chairman Lee. Tell him to be the one who caused all this constant chaos of revenge so that he could retreat. Get rid of all those who stand in your way only to let the useless prosecutor's son become the heir. To end this case, Chairman Gu said that one of the two people could not exist in parallel. Because of this, Chairman Lee decided that he would take action before he was faced. At the current Bongsan Group, there is a closed meeting and is notified to shareholders in advance. But the shareholders did not know that their position had been exposed because the news had arrived at the prosecutor's office. The board of directors was also quickly rounded up, making the chairman very angry, thinking that it was the bastard Jian who did this to him. Fortunately, he escaped before the prosecution caught him. It turned out that Chairman Lee's son took the opportunity that the two sides were at odds. Proceed to catch one side first to conveniently remove the Bongsan to clear the way for your ascension. Although the head of the prosecution department considered useless because he could not catch Bongsan. He was stabbed in the back because Jiam's son's original task was to arrest his father. He just asked the head of the department, didn't he say that he should choose his side in the first place? After the Bongsan taste, it will be my father's turn. Being the head of the department can't help but be surprised that Jiam's son is willing to do this just for his own sake. At the exhibition hall, Mr. Ian's paintings were surprised because Chairman Lee suddenly came to see him. The reason Chairman Lee came here was because he thought he could lead the chessboard like Mr. Ian Du said, but he didn't. 11 years ago he had no choice, and so now. The chairman asked Mr. Ian why he was involved in this case. He gives Ian a document related to Officer Han who was present in front of Ji-Seek's body first. Previously, the chairman's money had flowed abroad and was something to pay for this case. The chairman thinks that Mr. Lee is the one behind pulling the strings of everything. But Mr. Ian said that there are other people besides me who can do this. Someone is at the public office. The chairman thinks that a useless person like his son can do nothing. Tell Mr. Ian to drag him in again and he will beat you up. Being an Ian teacher due to sneering, it is true that old people only believe what they want to believe. Jijuan left the hospital after regaining consciousness, and his younger brother Habium brought his things as Jijuan instructed. He said that he had changed his brother's license plate so he wouldn't be detected. Meanwhile, the military chief was forever celebrating because the assassins had also been dealt with. Unbeknownst to him, all the gossip about Jijuan was heard by him from behind. The military chief's friend was reluctant to retreat, and he was no exception and sat aside. Jijuan asks who the killer is, but the military director doesn't know because no one hired him in this case. Jijuan threatens me to let you live just for that one effect. By the way, what about the two friends who play billiards, Gungo and Chun-Suk? Although he was a very protective hired man, he was afraid of Jijuan. This guy was also considered guilty of burying these two brothers because he made a mistake. At Chairman Lee's house at this time, he asked his son if he had any contact with anyone recently. Then the boy's expression was a little confused. Did Khan promise you the position of your father or the Bongsan Group? My father constantly told me that I was the one who knew how to take my place. To be honest, I don't understand what my father is saying anymore. But what kind of people often hide their true strength deep in their hearts? The next day, because I have not been able to make up my mind for the past 11 years, Chairman Lee decided that his hands had already been dipped in indigo, so let it continue to be dipped in indigo. He led his troops to meet the chairman of the GU to begin the purge of the sect of the two sides. It seemed that they would be able to coexist, and the two sides began to rush in and slash each other. Although Chairman Gu is old, he used to be a bear's head, so he felt like a meal. Each of the president's juniors has too little taste, leading to being skewered like a pig being poked. Chairman Gu was strong and they flew all the way up, and as a result when he met Chairman Lee in front of him. This war was also quickly ended by Chairman Lee, who said, "I'm willing to do anything for my child, so he'll understand." Before he died, the chairman refused and it would be his turn. After the purge, his doctor's people informed him that Chairman Gu had left. Now there is only one turn left for Chairman Lee to wait for his turn. After witnessing this scene, Jijuan thinks that it is possible that Chairman Lee wants to protect his son. He had arranged for him to meet privately as Chairman Lee, glad that his man was not dead. But in front of him, Jijuan couldn't help but suspect that he was the one who had given him the person to deal with him some time ago. Hearing that, Chairman Lee just started talking about someone that Jijuan probably didn't know. He is nicknamed his doctor because he was once dragged back by the chairman because of his relationship with the police. He was the chief police officer who interrogated him because he often helped cover up the illegal missions that Li Gu had committed on these two sides. At first, he was not very greedy until Chairman Wu lost his position to the two Li and Gu took over. He earned even more than the president of the umbrella, so he became greedy for his way to contain more wealth. He is the balance between Chairman Lee and Gu because he holds the most clues about the illegal mission between the two. The chairman said that he was still guarding his wings in his heart because of 11 years ago. Jizyuk is a young child who can't even think of killing the son of the chairman of the umbrella. He pulled out the tape recording showing that it was the needleman who pulled the rope behind him. You don't believe me, but you also have to believe this kind of evidence. He also offers to invite Jijuan to take over as president, but he doesn't want to. He just told the chairman what I wanted to do. But the chairman asked, instead of letting you go find him, let me call him out. So that very night, the chairman called Mr. Lee to make an appointment for him to meet privately. It made him wonder why he was so late. Although he was a little suspicious, Mr. Lee also went to his car when he returned and found that something was wrong. At some time after the Gu chairman was removed, Mr. Lee Ong-do met with Director Hong to tell him about the takeover of Bongsan. By the way, introducing new people to meet, including the Cheon manager of the Jown Group. And more special is the presence of Chairman Lee Jiam's son's son. After the chairman of the Gu side lost the head, Mr. Lee, because he advised Jiam to continue to take his next step instead of hanging around at the edge. But it seems that Jiam's son is aiming for something bigger than his father's corporation. Back to the present, Mr. Lee realized that he had been deceived by Chairman Lee. He was quickly restrained by Jian, but he wasn't defenseless. Hello bastard, but he left Jian with his bodyguard. But this guy didn't stay long, but only kept Jun back. To find out who is Mr. Lee, Jian calls Director 1. Force him to find out the male license even if he is a policeman. Because of the unsuccessful handling of Mr. Lee, he called the chairman again, saying that you are the one who stabbed him in the back is not like you at all. Immediately Chairman Lee put the board meeting together. Then the son stopped him and said that he would come to Jian to replace his father. Jiam Song said he didn't know where else to start to the president's surprise. I guess it was from the time I met Mr. Lee, or for the first time I decided to take my father's place. The new chairman was surprised and asked the boy if he knew how Mr. Lee, Mr. Du, had arrived. He was a person who sat in a place where the water was boiling just so that his son could be at peace. But now he betrayed himself, wanting to take his place as Chairman Lee, which he couldn't understand. Simply because this son doesn't want to be seen as useless anymore. But he didn't know that he only looked like a chess. Tell me that I want my father's location and give a denunciation of search and confiscation. Jiam Song said that he would do all of this and his father stood up and watched. The chairman did not expect that even his manager would betray him. Meanwhile, at Mr. Lee's police station, Mr. Du called the general director of security. Asked if he was willing to repay the debt but was flat with Nam Ji-jun. At that time, he didn't know that he was also being watched by Ji-jun's people. Find out where Mr. Lee's name is now. As for Jiam, when he came to his father's corporation, everyone was surprised. As what he had expected before was this group. Everyone is only loyal to his father, so he used a strong measure. Whoever leaves here today will have no way to live. Jiam Song will do everything possible to be able to sit in his father's shoes. At home, Chairman Lee also smelled that he would be in danger. He took out the gun he had kept for a long time. Jian followed the address sent by the military director. Arriving at the basement where Mr. Lee's car was parked, Mr. Du met his captain again. Some time ago he was dragged out by Mr. Lee to solve the problem with Jian. And this time Jian's big brother here is to solve it. All that the two were still entangled with each other from 11 years ago. Even though she didn't want to, Jian still had to fight with her boss. Although he still remembered the big brother a little, he was a little annoyed. In fact, Jian's great joy only wants to exonerate himself from him. After the end of the battle, the big man said that to end it all, everyone would have to die. After speaking, the big brother gave Jian the address that Mr. Lee was currently at. It was at Chairman Lee's house. Mr. Lee, Mr. Du, did not come here today to gossip. Rather, it is to kill the chairman because he has run out of value. Although he is only a person who has endured for the past 11 years. But the chairman also did not let everything go as Mr. Lee did want. You've made a big mistake by touching my son. But the chairman was negligent in his vigilance, causing Mr. Lee to refrain from doing the opposite. Then the two began to struggle. Until Jian returned, there was only a cold corpse in front of him. With the arrival of the police, he was entangled in Mr. Lee's arrangement. Became a suspect in the murder of Chairman Lee, but Mr. Lee did not know that his plan was in this house. Everything he himself said was listened to by Jayan himself. And Jayan, because he has run out of value in the eyes of Mr. Lee, Mr. Du. He was also quickly taken by the police to a bunker to be killed. But these guys were too contemptuous when Jayan was a person with power far beyond ordinary people. The policemen in the car were quickly restrained and dealt with cleanly. The last policeman who was about to execute Jayan, suddenly a car rushed over and hit him. The military director appeared and asked why he was not so surprised. Thinking that this guy also betrayed him, he didn't expect the director to ask Jayan to help him again. He said that he came here because of the name of Mr. Lee. He asked him to clean it. Instead of telling the truth, the military chief informed Mr. Lee that Jayan had been dealt with. At that time, the military director finally reveals to Jayan the truth. The policeman he was suspicious of should have been transferred to another place a long time ago. But for the past 11 years, he has remained in the same place, not moving even a little. Just one sentence was enough to make Jayan realize that person had been receiving security money from both Duin and Bongsan for more than a decade. Jayan asked, "Why are you on my side?" But the military director knew that sooner or later he would be invited to drink tea, so he chose to stand on the side of the person he trusted. After saying that, he handed Jayan a phone and Chairman Lee's personal belongings. "He'll take refuge abroad, and the rest will be yours." The military director immediately sent a message to the subordinates of the prosecutor's office who were conducting a raid and seized classified documents. The policeman suddenly called with a stern look on his face and said to Jiumsun, "Are you stabbing me in the back?" Jiumsun replied that he lied to me, saying that it was Jayan who harmed my father. "But I did my part right, not as a prosecutor. I should pursue the truth instead of chasing slander. Don't ask me why, but ask yourself, because it's wrong to believe in a person who is good at blowing the wind like Father Yong. Because he always knows how to make everyone confront each other without pulling down." As soon as he finished the call, he gritted his teeth angrily, because there was nothing more bitter than being betrayed by a little boy. He just took the phone and immediately called the assassin who had been hired to clean things up. But unexpectedly, on the other end of the line, that guy was sitting calmly next to Jaeum-sun. It was Kim Jo, a Korean Japanese who was wanted by Interpol around the world. Now he is dragged by his own father to be an ally in an unknown black and white mission. Jaeum looked at Jo in a calm voice and negotiated. "I will give you a legal identity and a new life in Korea. No more running away and no more looking over your shoulder when walking." Jo also asked him to help me in return. Jaeum-sun said that I just need a few people who are handled neatly, and I believe that he is the most suitable person. When she returned, Jaeum buried her head in the pile of documents she had collected from the corporation. While searching, he suddenly discovered a strange object carefully hidden in a brown leather bag that had faded. Inside was not a cricket, but a pistol that Jaeum-sun didn't think he would find at this moment. He paused for a few seconds because he remembered something even more important. Going back in time to about 8 months ago, when everything was just a seed in his head. It was Jaeum-sun, the only son in the family, who secretly planned to swallow up both the Juin and Bongsan empires. Unlike Junmo, the son of the Gu family, but his mind is full of sponges and he has ridiculous confidence. Jaeum doesn't dare to live a life decorating an office. He turned to the man who was seen as a shadow warrior for advice, or rather a hand that stirred up the big picture. The simple reason is that it is considered useless by the whole family as a walking decoration. But the difference is that Jaeum-sun doesn't want to be recognized, but he wants to control it. Returning to the present after examining the gun, Jaeum-sun turned to jailer Cheon and said, "Let's go. Before we do anything, we have to see my father off for a while." In another place, the Sim-song army was preparing to flee away. He chose the sea route to avoid radar and took the accumulated money with him. While waiting, he took his brother and said that he would go out to deal with his own affairs and told him to just sit and wait. It wasn't long before 2 strangers suddenly opened the car door. They didn't say that they wanted to clean up the garbage, but unfortunately, what they encountered was not prey, but an old animal with its claws intact. Although Sim Seong-kwan has washed his hands and guarded his sword, he is still a veteran player who has rolled all the fronts. The 2 thugs were knocked out in a matter of minutes. Do you think that this kind of trash like you also wants to destroy the ship? Thinking that everything was quiet, he leaned on the seat ready to leave. The most surprising thing came from the person he trusted the most was the younger brother who had just come back. Without a warning, without hesitation, he took action as if he was prepared. Behind that betrayal was none other than the name Jeumsun. He wanted to silence all the people who had been involved in his plan. In this power game, Jiumsun does not allow any living witnesses to be allowed to leave the chessboard. At this time, Jijuan has tracked down where Yong's father is hiding is the police headquarters. Before he could get inside, a familiar face suddenly stopped him by the assassin who had made a move against Jizyuk. Needless to say, the two sides rushed in to fight while he squeezed his edge freely. "You're not better than your brother, he looks cool but hollow." Jijuan understood that it was the one who handled his brother that night. Despite being involved in the cowardice of life, Jijuan, who was once known as the Korean version of John Wick, still did not collapse. On the contrary, each of his blows is like putting 10 years of suffocation, to the point where the assassin finally collapsed and had to pay the price the way he had handled Jizyuk. Now there was only one name left, that physician. Meanwhile, Jiumsun is meeting with senior members to discuss his live's strategic project. "We will do everything according to the law. I was the prosecutor who stood in the light, and when I obeyed the law, no one dared to touch me." Hearing that, those who are always good at it must also nod their heads in agreement and quickly sign a commitment to cooperation. On Jaijin's side, he almost crawled to the hideout of Father Yong. Yong, when he saw him coming, didn't say anything, but pulled out his gun and squeezed the grass. "Do you know who is planning with me?" Jijuan didn't answer, took out a copy of the Lai family's documents along with a USB stick. Yongdu asks if he knows what is in it. Contains all the real directors of this great drama is Lee Jium-sun. The person who sparked the war between Joun and Bongsan is also the one behind Jizyuk's departure. Yongdu said, "Why aren't you the successor to Jium-du? But believe me, that position is for you." Jijuan said instead of begging why he asked me. Without waiting for him to answer, Jijuan threw the document towards him. Yong, who was about to launch a counterattack, pulled out a counterattack, but before he could make a move he was caught by Jijuan, causing him to stab himself. Although it was not enough to go to the afterlife, he was unable to resist. He took action little by little so that this name could clearly feel every second of his life. After everything was closed, the Zizhou had fallen and the enemy had fallen. Jijuan quietly appeared in front of Chairman Lee's coffin. Without a word being spoken, he just knelt down at the end of his head for a long time in front of him. Jium-sun said that neither Jiu nor the doctor could pass the last hurdle. He asked me why he didn't accept his father's invitation. People had to lose their lives to get that chairman's chair, and he considered it just a chair with a broken leg. Jijuan stopped his face and said that it was just because of that square. And it's okay for you to enjoy your last meal because there's no one left behind you. The next day during Chairman Lee's cremation, Jijuan just quietly walked away. Then he went to a group of close friends who had given birth to his uterus. They'll follow soon, but for now I have one last thing to do. He took the USB and handed it to Habio, who he trusted. This is all the evidence of Jium-sun, but I don't want you to take revenge, but just stop here. On this side, Jium-sun is calm. He is not worried about Jijuan, so he goes to the High Prosecutor's office to ask for the legalization of control of two large corporations. It's just a few paperwork, and I don't think you want the illegal money transfers abroad to be dragged anywhere, right? There was no way back. The head of the prosecutor's office just had to close his eyes. It seems to be providing internal support for his brother to easily take power in Joun. At the grand signing ceremony between Joun and Bongsan corporations, Jium-sun shouted with enthusiasm, "From today I am officially the CEO of Joun, and we will open a new era of cooperation with Bongsan." But Jium didn't know the secret recording that Habium was secretly holding in her hand. After receiving the USB from Jaijin's brother, Habium didn't sit still. He went all the way to the graveyard company when he opened the file and traced the footage of the plot to deal with Jizyuk. And there are even illegal transfer papers signed by Jium-sun himself. Just as Jium-sun was still gloating at Lee celebrating his victory with the head of the prosecutor's office and the chief prosecutor, then someone came to report that prosecutor Lee Jium-sun, who had just sat in the chair of Director Down, accused of conspiring to handle people and manipulating finances to gain power. The governor said that today's meal was delicious, but I think I should go first. The head of the department also told you to take care of the rest, and don't forget to watch the news tonight. Only Jium was left looking at the screen with her eyes wide open, until the close junior of the head of the department came forward and said, "This is really good, I thought you were smart." When he was bitter, there was a guy who came to the door and beat him, so Jium-sun immediately let him go to the other world. Manager Cheon rushed all the way to his face. "All the staff trust you, and now you have to suffer this consequence. If you disappear from this life." On the other side of the building, Jian finally appeared as promised yesterday. without letting him enter in peace. A young junior who had just seen it rushed out to get bored with the road. As a result, he ate a neat stab so that the whole group behind him could only stand up and dare not take half a step. If any guy dares to go up, let me go down and continue talking. The air was suffocating. When the Cheon manager appeared in time to call the juniors to stop and leave. Looking at the boy who had just been beaten, I thought it was true that the stupid head was still the first to be swollen. Cheon approached Jun and said that he and I had been in this profession together since we were barefoot. So I know how you are, please let go for once. Lee Jun said I skipped it once and my brother was lying down because of it, so now I have nothing left to back down. There's no other way for Cheon to take him to see him, but I'm sorry. Less than a few steps away, Cheon sneaked out, but Jian was still unharmed. The counterattack was so fast that Cheon collapsed. Jian said it's okay, he'll come down to see you soon. But before that, I have one thing to do. Jian's son is now fully prepared to face Jian. He sat quietly on the chair that had once been a symbol of his father's authority. The gun was also on the barrel, just waiting for Jian to enter before he could press the end button. However, Jian was in no hurry. He slowly sat down in his chair and did not have the slightest body. He said what it felt like to sit on the chair after having tasted enough of life. Jian's son said that when he was a jerk, everything was happy. There was always something to fight for, to wait. But when he was settled on the top, he felt empty. He confessed that he was born to stab in a winless way. That suffocating feeling of suspense I really liked, even the eyes of people looking at my father. Something that was both admirable and jealous, but I was so annoyed and jealous that I couldn't bear it. Jian said he was wrong. Those eyes were fear, the pressure on his father's shoulders. Maybe he himself doesn't want you to shoulder this debt of power. Jian's son obviously didn't want to hear the words that shook her faith, so she tried to move on to something else. But he still couldn't hide his curiosity why a person who had once been strayed away without turning his head like him dared to come back. Jian bluntly admits all the blame on herself, saying that it was me who pushed her brother away. So this life is not pretty, so let's lock out together. But Jian's son gave him a shot, but Jian didn't tremble. On the contrary, he took the knife to challenge and continued shooting, but with Jian's son now, everything suddenly became as pale as snail water. He tries to take it upon himself but is given a painful blow by Jian. He thought he wanted to leave, so Jian said while handling Jian's son mercilessly. So the drama also brought down the game of power struggle, which seemed to resonate with the world's reputation. But in the end, it was only exchanged for a pile of ruins and casualties. The person he chose to win in the end was so bored that he didn't want to sigh. Meanwhile, the person who once plunged into the war in the hope of keeping happiness chose the wrong path from the first move. Now Jian can also extend his hand to follow his brother to the other world of vision.